How does Nan Yin, the third altered of the game, work? And just how strong is she? Let's do a deep dive into the mechanics and expected value of her kit, advancements, and matrices. First off, let's talk about her weapon's passive Inhabit. This is a new effect that works at all times, having different effects for whether or not Nan Yin's own weapon, Purple Bamboo, is deployed or not. When Nan Yin is not deployed, you can select any other weapon to inherit this buff, increasing the damage dealt by it. Note that this specifically only affects one weapon. It's not an on-field multiplier. Out of the box, it's only a 1% buff, but at A1, this is 1% plus the amount of stars the inhabited weapon has, for a maximum of a 7% buff. This means that Nan Yin can buff the damage of any given comp by around 3 to 4%, even when she's not in use. When Nan Yin is deployed, Inhabit gives you a 15% buff for all weapons. This buff is increased to up to 21% based on Nan Yin's advancements, which we'll touch on more later. Nan Yin's resonance is the final tune. This is a special type of resonance that grants 30% attack when using 3 altered weapons, and it stacks with Fiona's altered resonance for a total of a huge 50% attack bonus. Nan Yin herself is an adaptive element. She deals elemental damage based on the weapon you switch into her from, meaning you can use her just fine in any element restricted content such as sequential, and also benefit from any elemental buffs as you normally would for a normal elemental weapon. However, she does use your altered attack value instead of your elemental attack, but don't go rushing to pull out your funny altered attack gear because altered attack doesn't benefit from any attack percent multipliers, making it not as good as it seems despite the large values. Her trait gives 18% final damage, and when Nan Yin is on field, an additional 8% elemental damage for every non-altered weapon equipped. While other Domain 9 simulacra have a damaging weapon passive, Nan Yin instead has this effect in her clone, which is created when you cast her Discharge. However, unlike other effects that scale with all your stats, the clone has its own flat stats, and its damage does not scale with any multipliers. You can also possess the clone by holding dodge attack, greatly increasing its attributes, and gain access to a highly damaging skill, except these values are all unaffected by multipliers, so the damage is essentially a flat amount that's only relevant to very new players. On top of creating a clone, Nan Yin's Discharge triggers an additional effect based on the element you switched from, which is standard damage that benefits from multipliers. For Frost, a 15-second dot is triggered and you get a large shield. For Flame, a burn is triggered for just 1 second, which is essentially just for phase up. For Physical, a 30-second effect is applied that gives you bonus damage on critical hit per 0.85 second interval. For Vault, your clone starts bleeding out and dealing a pitiful amount of damage, but at least you can heal it back up with Mimi. Finally, for Altered, the clone inherits 100% of your attack, and makes the clone do 2000% damage when it disappears. However, while these altered numbers sound like big numbers, they're for void trace damage that's not buffed by multipliers, so it doesn't really contribute that much. Next, let's talk about her skill. It creates a hyperdimensional field for 60 seconds, and every 15 seconds after the skill is used, dimensional collapse is triggered, dealing a large amount of damage plus 0.1% of the damage you dealt since the start of the skill. While this sounds like a laughable amount, it is far from it. This is cumulative, and each follow-up round of damage builds on the previous. The damage dealt is also further buffed by all multipliers, making it a very large source of passive damage that scales up exponentially with higher invested comps. You will also get free hyperbody in the skill, and Nan Yin's damage will ignore the damage reduction from enemy shields. Her skill can make her very strong from the backline, but what about her on-field potential? Her strongest combo is 3 autos into 2 hold attacks, though 2 autos into 2 hold attack is also just as strong. Doing this combo in the air is also slightly stronger, though comes at a larger endurance cost. While these base numbers are overshadowed by main DPS options in other comps, recall that her trait can give her an additional 16% damage on field, which, when coupled with her powerful skill, make her a strong contender for an on-field DPS for comps that had lower on-field DPS options such as Flame and Physical. In team play, her dodge attack will create a butterfly that lasts for 1 minute with varying effects. With attack or balance resonance, it does damage to enemies it passes through. In fortitude resonance, it delays targets and shields friendly allies. With benediction resonance, it instantly revives a downed teammate, but the usefulness of this is questionable because with the buggy rev system, we could pretty much already do that. Finally, let's talk utility. By hold attacking out of combat, you can create a portal that you can teleport to freely. Use it to get to your favorite AFK farm spots, annoying locations for daily quests, or your top secret extreme raid progression location. This covers the basics. Now it's time to look at her advancements. Nan Yin's advancements have fairly generic value across comps, meaning the value of her advancements is pretty much the same across different team comps. Let's talk about the expected value of each one. As mentioned earlier, her A1 increases her inhabit passive's value by 1% per star on the inhabited weapon. On top of this, the A1 increases the Dimensional Collapse's base damage, which adds a small amount of total damage. Her A3 gives the Void Trace 50% attack inheritance, but the clone's damage is so irrelevant that this accounts for next to nothing. At least it gives you lethal damage protection once per 60 seconds by letting you consume your clone. However, 2 more stars means another 2% damage from her A1, so that's a little bit of value, I guess. Next is her A5, which gives 20% ignore resistance when her skill is up, giving this advancement a good chunk of value. It also lets you create a 3rd portal. Finally, her A6 increases the damage echo of Dimensional Collapse by a large amount, which greatly increases her off-field damage contribution. This is worth a decent amount, though it can be worth relatively more in more invested comps. Overall, her advancements are not too critical at all. the A1 is recommended to pick up for the warehouse buff, and other than that, either prioritize the full A6 or just get her matrices instead. Speaking of which, let's talk about those. Nan Yin's 2-piece increases attack, and gives some more attack inheritance to your Void Trace. It also gives you 1000 charge when entering combat, ensuring that you'll always start with a discharge. It's literally just a better Lyra 2-piece and works on Offhand. Her 4-piece increases final damage by a large amount, as well as crit damage. However, like other altered 4-pieces, this only works when Nan Yin's weapon is deployed. So, how strong is this compared to other matrices? As a standalone, it's quite a notch above other limited matrices, as other altered matrices have been. If you plan on having Nan Yin in your comp, her matrices can definitely be quite the power spike, but as always, this depends on the matrix sets that you already have. Let's now compare the value of replacing a unit on an older team with a variable investment of Nan Yin. The following values to be presented are theoretical and do take into account Resistance Shred, Fiona's execution damage, relics, and optimal Titan stats. The static 2 characters in each comp will be A6, and the matrices used for each calculation will have no limited matrices unless stated otherwise. We'll first start out with Flame, comparing the value of replacing Liu Huo as a main DPS in a comp with Faisal and Zeke. Liu Huo is stronger at lower investment levels, but Nan Yin beats her out after A5. At the absolute maximum investment, including all limited matrices maxed out, Nan Yin is quite a step above a similarly invested Liu Huo comp. For Frost, we'll compare replacing Fiona as a support in a comp with Ling Han and Yulon. Nan Yin outperforms Fiona at all stages except at A3, as Nan Yin's A3 is quite weak compared to Fiona's execute. Max investment is in Nan Yin's favor though. For both, Rubilia is the one who will be replaced, with Fiona and Huan, as the constants. There's really no comparison here. Rubilia has always been a scuffed Fenrir-dependent support, so replacing her with Nan Yin is a no-brainer. Finally, for physical, we'll be comparing Fiona with Nan Yin in a comp with Genono and Zeke. Here, Fiona outshines Nan Yin at each point of investment, except if you have a completely maxed matrix comp. This just shows the absurd power scaling of Nan Yin's dimensional collapse. Of course, in a situation like this, you can still just pull for A1 Nan Yin and just slap the inhabit on your main DPS to get a damage gain. Nan Yin's advancements offer improvements mostly around the board, but a lot of this power is only realized at higher investment levels. In part 2 of this analysis, we'll examine the power differences in depth across multiple investment levels, dive deep into the builds of the team comps she fits into, and compare the power of them to each other with hardcore math. I'll also go over the finest details of optimization and rotations then, so stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time!